All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. It's Tracy Cromwell here with Tough Love Tuesday, your personal journey with food. And I have my guest here again is Dr. David Mobley. And I'm so happy to have you on the show again,
Yeah,
Dr.
thanks for
D.
having me. It's good to be
Yes,
here. Tough
that was
Love Tuesday.
awesome. Yes, yes. And so I was forgot to pull your bio up. So tell us a
Oh,
little
that's
bit
okay.
about you. I don't need to do it. You do it.
Yeah, so for your listeners, my name is Dr. Dave Mobley. I'm a sports chiropractor. I practice out of Tangelo. We're in West Seattle. We also have clinics in Green Lake and Fremont. Essentially, what that means is I work on folks who have injuries, and we have a very movement-based approach to how we fix folks and get them moving and feeling better. Part of my background throughout chiropractic school, I also got a master's degree in exercise and sports science and have done extensive training in the CrossFit world and Olympic weightlifting world, and also kind of dove into trail running and long distance running. So a little bit of everything. So yeah, I'm here to kind of share some things.
That's great. And everybody, you may not know this, but I was a patient of Dr. Mobley's, and he helped get me through some injuries that were really holding me back and making it very difficult for me to do things that I love to do. And the team over at Tangelo as well, phenomenal group of people. Um, Dr. D was helping me with my knee, and then Tangelo, they were helping me with chronic tendonitis. And I'm so grateful. So grateful that I met you and that I got to have that experience to
For sure, yeah.
heal. Yes. So tonight, I wanted to talk about, and we had discussed this, at the end of our last conversation, was about yo-yo exercising. And we talk a lot about yo-yo dieting, but yo-yo exercising is really similar, you know. And so Dr. D, what is your concept of what a yo-yo exercising lifestyle might look like?
Yeah, so this is a tough one, and it's tough because it often leads to not just frustration, but also injuries. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something we see a lot in the clinic. So, for example, you have someone who has worked out in the past, they kind of know what's going on fitness wise. They have taken a little bit of a break from working out, and then they're ready to hop back into things, and they hit it really hard for, a couple sessions or maybe even a couple weeks, and then they end up with an overuse injury or something else. Sometimes it's simply just kind of they get burnt out from that routine, but essentially they kind of stall out and take another long break until they feel better or feel motivated, and then they just do way too much again, and they kind of caught in this cycle, and
Mm-hmm.
it's tough.
Yeah. And that's sort of what happened with me was why I had to come back to you a couple times because you helped me recover from the knee injury, and I got so excited.
Yeah.
I totally went to town.
Yeah.
And yeah, and next thing I know, I had tendonitis in both my Achilles because I was just like, yeah. And yeah, so coming back from injury, even you have to really think about, not overdoing it. But let's talk like mindset, because I know a lot of people, the thought of exercising, I've had clients, number one, I mean, they don't like to sweat. They just don't want to do it. They don't have time. Trying to think all those things. What, in your opinion, are the ramifications of not moving your body?
Ooh, we're already jumping there.
Oh yeah.
Um, so there's different layers here, and obviously I could list off, probably 20 things, that everything ranging from ability to focus at work to sleep quality. But the big one I think we can dive into is more of like what happens physically when we're not moving and what that looks like in the short term, which sometimes you can get away with not working out for years and years and feel totally fine. But oftentimes it does kind of catch up to us in the long run. And that might be when you're like 60 or 70 years old and you wake up and you just kind of feel like crap, and all of a sudden you can't do the things you thought you could do. So that might look like, you know, you want to go on a hike with your family, and all of a sudden you're going up some pretty steep incline and you're really regretting things. Or you kind of have to turn back or tell them you can't go in the first place because you don't think you can handle it. So there's different things like that. Typically what we see too is folks who don't have a great exercise routine, their capacity to stress their bodies overall is less experience. So
Mm-hmm.
overall kind of body durability, as we say in the clinic, is affected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then what I've been thinking about more, and we can hop into this too, is really thinking about what you want to be able to do when you're 50 or 60 or 70 or 100 years old. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then a good strategy there is to kind of backtrack and think about what you should be able to do at 40 years old or 35 years old. Or if you're super
Mm-hmm.
young, you know, what should you be doing when you're 20 years old to kind of set yourself up for success entering the quote unquote real world?
Well, and what's interesting when you said that too, I got thinking, I was caught too, like, what we should be able to do at a specific age is really, we want to like pass what society thinks that is, because uh, our bodies are amazing at what they can accomplish.
Yeah.
So at 54, I believe I'm doing things I never thought I could do, number one, at this age, but that I couldn't even do when I was younger. So, we can dream big, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one of the great things too is like, hey, it's never too late to start.
Hmm.
And this comes
Hmm.
back to the yo-yo fitness lifestyle is, hey, if you're feeling like you're getting older, like it's not too late. Just start doing a little bit
Hmm.
of something and start
Yeah.
chipping away. And I think the consistency is what trumps large bouts of effort that are not sustained.
Hmm.
Um, so, the
Hmm.
10 minutes a day of doing a little bit of something and switching it up every day. So you're kind of checking different boxes of aerobic
Hmm.
fitness and strength and conditioning and even a little bit of agility, like I think there's a lot of value in being able to kind of hop back and forth side to side and having control of your body that way,
Hmm.
right?
Different planes of motion. And,
Exactly.
and when you were working with me again, because I was coming off of an injury, that was a huge mind block for me of fear, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. And
and, yeah, so it was like, so sometimes we can get so caught up in that fear that we're afraid to start really working out. So let's just say we have somebody that, maybe, and I know there are many out there, COVID-19 March was pretty much when the gyms got closed. And so if you have somebody then that's just disoriented and the gyms are still not really a place you can go, it was very intermittent. What kind of mindset would you say to someone that's lost and then they have to convert, what they were doing to a whole different dynamic of fitness? I mean,
right. And
yeah.
especially if you don't have anything at home equipment
Hmm.
wise, right?
Yeah.
Um, my audio is just cutting out. I want to make sure I'm answering the correct question here. Were you
Oh,
ask
okay.
you were asking if someone is at home, cut off from fitness due to COVID, where should they start and what mindset they should have, pretty much?
Yeah, basically,
How
because
to,
they're used to having the gym equipment and the weights and everything, and all of a sudden it's gone, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So what would you recommend somebody do?
So one of the things I like to stress to folks is find something you enjoy. Finding something you enjoy is going to be way better than suffering through something someone is told is good for you. And
Mhm.
don't try to get into a fitness routine just because someone is telling you like this is the thing to do. I guess
Mhm.
that would be better than doing nothing, but at the same time, I think the approach of finding something you enjoy and understanding that, again, a little bit each day is going to be better than slamming it
Mhm.
in, beating yourself up, and possibly running into either injury or burnout, or finding something that's
Mhm.
just not sustainable for your lifestyle right then.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
one big piece I like to talk to folks about too is kind of starting to visualize how you would fit your fitness into your life right now, not just for
Mhm.
today, but what is that going to look like tomorrow? What is that going to look like next week when you're not wanting to do it and life gets busy? Like, are you going to wake up early? Are you going to stay up late? Or, like, how are you going to squeeze it in there? Because
Mhm.
oftentimes we have this mindset and kind of very surface level interest and idea of wanting to get into fitness, but we don't really think too hard about what that's going to look like.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so almost, and I know, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard this concept of essentially kind of planning your fitness in and setting it as a meeting for yourself, penciling
Mhm.
it into your schedule, blocking that time off, and really committing to squeezing something in there so you can
Mhm.
check that box of a little bit of fitness each day, or 3 or 4
Mhm.
times a week even. um, that'd be a great start.
Yeah. You made a good point just now that flagged me, as a thought, of someone who has not been exercising, and they're like, "I'm gonna do it every single day from now on,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
every day I'm gonna do it," and you might make it for 1 week, and then all of a sudden, you're just like, "Oh my gosh," and so then you stop, you
Yeah,
know? But even like you said, start a couple days a
yeah.
week,
And
and yeah.
when we are talking about higher frequency of exercise, it's also important to know that you probably shouldn't be doing the same thing every day,
Mhm.
unless, like, if you're starting with walking and stretching, that's totally fine to do every day. But when we're
Mhm.
talking about either running or any type of like hit workout or something like that, a little bit of switching it up throughout the week is really good for your body to kind of let it rest, recover, and
Mhm.
move on to different groups as you go.
Mhm.
That's a little bit easier to talk about when you're doing more of the weight training approach, to kind of split your days up into like a lower body day and then walk or run the next day, and then an upper body day and then walk or run,
Mhm. Mhm.
and kind of having this cycle of moving through different things, just not only to not burn out, but also it gives you a little bit something different to look forward to the next day. So
Right.
kind of keeps you on schedule in that sense.
Yeah. And I admit I'm one that I'll latch on once I find something I like,
Yeah.
that's all my brain wants to do. That's
Yeah.
all it wants, and I'm like, and I'm like, "Okay, you really need to," especially with, I love my interval running,
Hmm.
and it's like and I just do it for 30 minutes interval, and my brain just loves it. My body responds great. So that's all it wants to do. And I'm like, no, we gotta number one, I know I've got to do my rest days. And it's a
Hmm.
battle sometimes to get my mind to be calm about that,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I find that when I do a couple days of rest, I actually perform so much better,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not doing every day. But also, one thing that's helped me a lot, because my mind is, even as a trainer and a health coach, I still battle. I think what everybody else does is I don't have time. And I
Hmm.
know I have time. It's just,
Yeah.
why am I not making time?
Yeah.
And which I was thinking about what we talked a little bit about earlier is our why. And I want to come back to that. But one thing that's helped me too is I'll put it, now that there's COVID, I'm home all the time. I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here. This
Hmm.
my office. And so I literally do. I remind myself again. I set a timer on my phone to go off every 40 minutes because it'll remind me to get up. I'll do a squat or two. I might drop down, do a push up, or I'll grab the kettlebell, or
Yeah.
something. and I'll get little intermittent because I can sit here for 8 hours,
Right. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know that that's going to harm me. So that's one thing people could do too, is just, if you're having a hard time getting an hour and a half or so set aside, just grab something and do something,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Even on a quote unquote rest day that you're too busy to get anything in, that
Mhm.
dropping down. I love the idea of dropping down and doing a couple squats because that takes the
Mhm.
hips through pretty much the full range of motion there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just something to move. And I think too, what, now that we're all in different environments and we've been thrown out of our normal way of doing things, maybe having the mindset of discovery.
Yeah.
Some people may
Yeah.
not even like what they know what they like,
Exactly. Yeah. And that's so
you know?
true that
Yeah.
especially now with the day and age of technology and YouTube videos, like
Hmm.
it's super easy to explore different, and I
Yeah.
guess it's tough if you don't know what to explore, but
Right.
different types of even YouTube video workouts to follow along with.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, discovering and exploring different things,
Hmm.
whether that's simple like Tai Chi or Qigong type movements, or
Hmm.
a YouTube
Hmm.
video that's like a pretty intense HIIT class that you're following along with. There's a lot of different
Hmm.
things out there.
Yeah, a lot of things. And I have to think about the blessing for me, because I was either in my studio, I was here, or I would go to the gym, and I wasn't outside very much. And
Hmm.
I made all these excuses except for my cycling. And then I made excuses. I wasn't going to ride unless the weather was perfect. It was too cold, and all
Hmm.
that. And but not having access to my normal environment has blessed me with getting outside, um, hiking again, buying the rain
Yeah.
jacket. So I go out in the rain now. I love being in the rain, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I really recommend that too for everybody, is just, you know, see what else you can discover.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to circle back on either busy days or rest days where we have this anxiety about, oh man, like I'm just down on myself because I didn't work out today.
Hmm.
Kind of almost leveraging that feeling and shaping it differently in your mind, that having that little bit of stress is actually a good thing because that's telling yourself, like you actually do hold movement and exercise as being important, and that you
Hmm.
should look forward to the next day to get it in and either hit it extra hard or make it more important, but to
Hmm.
instead of making it a negative thing on yourself, like being okay with it, because we do have uh, every once in a while there is literally a busy day where you're going from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and that's
Hmm.
okay if you don't get anything in. It's really
Hmm.
like,
Yeah. So that's a good point, is just say, if let's say we haven't been exercising, commit to definitely to start 2 days a week and then go to
yeah,
3, or make commitment to add it in an interval throughout your day.
yeah,
One thing I've really found, if I start getting agitated and anxious because I've been working or whatever, I realize it's because I've got this energy building up,
mm-hmm,
and it has to go somewhere, right?
yeah,
So we can either harbor it with stress or frustration or whatever, or get it out with the movement of the body.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, because I know stress activates cortisol levels, which means a fight or flight
yeah. You
syndrome.
get
And go ahead.
you get worked up and then you don't sleep well, and then there's
Yeah.
that carryover effect.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so if we have a movement that helps us every day to kind of burn that up, because our bodies technically weren't meant to live in this type of environment that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
We're meant to be, our DNA anyway is
Yeah.
we're
Meant to be
wired.
walking 10 miles a day kind of thing.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And so we can get so stressed when we're sitting or watching TV even, and all of that, and we don't let that energy out. That can have, really ill effects on us emotionally. And I think too, we were talking earlier was the again, just to try and really drive this home, how about we understand now really well what happens to our bodies if we don't exercise. We atrophy, which I don't think is fair. Work really hard to get muscles, and it takes
Yeah.
like 2 days for them to go away.
Right.
Anyway, but that consistent little bit of effort every day, is so
Yeah.
helpful.
And to circle back on that, like you said, it takes a lot of energy for our bodies to build and create new and bigger muscles and strength.
Mhm,
But at the same time, kind of going off of that idea, when we're consistent with a pretty well-rounded fitness routine, it's going to look a lot different for each person in terms of
mhm,
what they look like. And a lot of that is driven by genetics. And I know it's
mhm,
tough because we have this idea of what a healthy, fit person should look like because of what our media tells us they should look
mhm,
like.
mhm.
But that's going to look a lot different from person to person.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if you're super tall and skinny, you're not probably. I mean, you might look like Arnold Schwarzenegger if you put in the work, but naturally, genetically, probably won't.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then, let's talk about like why too, again, just why mindset. I know for me, I used to exercise as a more of like, I was definitely striving for a way thought I was supposed to look, but also as a punishment for who I wasn't and what my body wasn't. And so I'd go into exercise very much with that mindset, which emotionally made it very challenging, and then something that I didn't have fun doing.
right, yeah.
So we had talked a little earlier too about mindset that might make it
Yeah.
easier. So what were your thoughts? I remember what you said, but tell us.
Yeah. So, kind of, I'm sure I'm going to explain this a different way for compared to what we had been talking about. But
Mhm,
um, oftentimes, I feel like when we're young adults striving to be super fit, there's often things that we train for, whether that's running a 5K or a half marathon or completing a triathlon or Ironman, something crazy like that, or even if you're playing a sport that gives you a real good reason to stay fit. But as we kind of enter, and I'm speaking from experience here just because I experienced this myself last year with competing and being a little bit less aggressive with what I'm doing in the gym and having the mindset of switching from this competitive mindset to more of training for who I want to be when I'm 100 years old. And I know that sounds like a
oh,
stretch, but
that sounds awesome.
if I make it to 100 years old, and I'm still working on this list, but there's a list in my mind of some things that I want to be able to do. So one of the things I think about is like how life is going to be when I'm 100 years old. And
Mhm.
if I make it that long, I'll probably have some great grandkids. And one of the things that I would love to do is be able to squat down and pick a great grandchild up and kind of lift them overhead. So
Yep.
then, what do I need to be doing in the gym to be able to support that movement and capability? So, one of the
Mhm.
things is obviously squatting. Another thing is lifting a toddler size kid. So being able to lift maybe 20 to 30 pounds overhead. And so you can kind of map this out and
Mhm.
revert, like look at things in reverse order. So if I want to be doing that when I'm 100, what do I need to be doing when I'm 80? What do I need to be doing when I'm 60? What do I need to be doing when I'm 50 and 40? And so I want to make sure that I'm doing all the right stuff that's kind of leading up to that.
Right.
There's other things that come to mind, like being able to get on an airplane and put my luggage in the overhead compartment. So that looks a lot similar. Similar to the overhead movement of like a shoulder press. So keeping up with different things like that. I haven't quite mapped out what I want to be doing aerobically, but one of the things that comes to mind is being able to briskly walk across a 4-lane road with in a timely manner.
Yes.
So being able to keep up with not just the physical muscular demand of that, but aerobically not being completely exhausted by the time I do that. Another one would be doing a hike of some sort. And so again, I know I'm pretty far from 100 years old, but knowing that that's my why and kind of having these different boxes to check along the way, it's kind of playing the long game to keep me accountable and at least know that my training has some purpose down the road.
Right. I love that. It makes sense too, because sometimes when we lose, let's say, I haven't done a 100-mile bike ride in a while, and it's been a couple years, but I know when I don't have that there, I don't feel the desire so much to train hard for it. But I love the concept, and there's a question I'm going to ask you that came up, so I'll ask you this in a moment. But when we have a why that's well past even what we physically look like, but just how about a why of how we want to be able to live, right? And so here's a question, because is there any type of guide or level of expectation of fitness for age levels? Let's say 70, for example.
Ooh, not that I know of. Not that I know of. I'm sure there's some official stuff out there in terms of maybe the American Heart Association publishing something that would probably talk about like a cardiac stress test where they put you on a treadmill and measure your total output during a time. But as in terms of these different types of functions that I kind of listed, I've never seen anything. So maybe that's a project for me in the future.
I got thinking it put it in my mind too. That's a good project to do.
Yeah.
And I think too, if we can look at age is just a number of chronological years, but everybody ages different. So I think it's more on, would you agree? Maybe it's more based on what our current status physically is for ourselves at that moment versus what.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't know.
That kind of goes along the lines. I know that there's different companies out there doing these biological age tests, which kind of hit the nail on the head with you saying chronological versus biological and what that looks like.
Yeah, like what's your body age really? And comparatively to, and again, I we see it more and more. We are living longer, and if we look at the stereotype of someone who's 70 back in the 50s, not the same. Yes. Okay, so I can't believe it. I think we are at 29 minutes already.
Yeah,
it's so fast. So again, so just if you find that you are a yo-yo exerciser, I always want to say Dr. D, Dr. Mobley.
That's fine.
Again, let's just recap a little bit, what are some ways to get moving? if you haven't been?
Yeah. So the easy first step is to think about your why. And
Mhm.
again, like your why shouldn't be that exercise is good and you're not doing it. It should be something clear that you really care about and that you can either write down or really have this deep seated feeling that that's why you need to either wake up early or get out in the rain when it's raining to get some movement in.
Mhm.
So figuring that out, understanding that a little bit each day is way better than like these spurts of exercise and then
Mhm.
going a couple weeks without. Um, and then just exploring and discovering what you enjoy.
Mhm.
There's so much stuff out there that um, exploring, finding what you like is easier than ever.
Yeah, and having the um releasing the fear associated. If you do have an injury like I did that one time, it was really making it hard. There's so many amazing professionals like Dr. D and his team that
Yeah.
they don't want to just get you back to just kind of managing life. They want to get you back moving,
Yeah.
feeling great. And maybe you don't even know what that's like. Maybe you've
Mm-hmm.
not exercised ever and you don't know what it's like to be able to move your body, but just have the courage to start or seek out
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
whether that's a healthcare provider to get you out of pain or either
Mhm.
even finding a coach to help put together a fitness workout plan for you.
Mhm.
And that's going to
Yeah.
look different for each person. For someone starting
Mhm.
off, it could be a simple 3 day a week template of something to just try to stick to and kind of
Mhm.
go from
Yep.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and having you say that, hey everyone, I can help you with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But wonderful. So yeah, so I love the concept of, if we can move our bodies to see what they can do, because they're absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
You're worthy right now to have, vibrant health in your life, and having a mind shift that you're worth it. You're really worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Well, our half hour is up already. And
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Dr. D, for coming on again. I really appreciate it.
Of course. It's fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll figure out
Yeah.
another topic. And so hang on, Dr. D. I'm going to go ahead and let's say bye to
Sounds good.
everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.